Identifying your flaws, trading is an uphill battle against the self. Each one of us has a different psychological makeup, and changing that is almost impossible. First, you have to be brutally honest with yourself. You have to be able to analyze yourself with incredible honesty, and you need a self-reflection ability which is almost not existent in any of us, because in school we are not taught to be self-reflective. Society doesn't really teach us how to do self-reflection. What can we do about this problem that actually trading is against human nature? There is definitely no one-size-fits-all solution, but there is an exercise which helped me a lot with identifying my flaws and with fighting them, or rather turning them into minor problems in my trading. I can now easily identify them, isolate them, and act upon them whenever I see one of those come up, but most of the time I am able to contain myself. I did all of this with the self-observation exercise. You observe yourself loudly while you are trading. So you describe what you are doing, what you are thinking while you are trading. And basically you look at yourself as if you were standing behind you. You observe yourself trading, and you listen to your mind, you listen to your thoughts. You explain everything in a loud and clear manner while you are trading. And if you want, you can even record that on a camera and watch it after the session. And it will be incredible what you are going to see. You are not going to believe yourself that in front of the camera is you. You'll be like, what the hell is this guy talking about? What is he doing? That is not me. Yeah, and actually that's what happens to a lot of us when we are governed by emotion. The third body experience is nothing new. It happens to murderers, for example. While they affectionately murder someone, many of them, after they get caught by the police, they describe the experience as an out-of-body experience. They watched themselves do it, but they had no control over it. And this is what happens to many of us while we are trading. Completely governed by emotions, unable to control ourselves. But it doesn't feel like that in the moment. Only after we realize what was going on. So in order to identify these states of mind, we need to talk to ourselves and record it if you want. And then whenever we realize something is coming up, we have to act. So we take a notepad, we scribble down whatever emotions we felt during the session, during which circumstances, and then we review it after the session. Then you will get a list of all the flaws you have to deal with. Impatience, anger when you miss a trade, anger when you exit too early, anger when the trade hits your stop loss and then takes off without you, boredom, getting in on a trade because you want the action, not you because you want the profit, and so on. And observing yourself will become an automated process after a while. I always imagine that behind me my mentor is standing, who is watching over my shoulder, and I would feel very embarrassed if I made a grave mistake, and that helps me a lot already. One way to deal with these things is that you simply stop trading when you identify one of these weaknesses coming up. For me, for example, there was every time I exited a trade too early and it took off without me, I became incredibly angry, and I would try to chase the trade, or I would get in on the next setup way too early without confirmation, or I would ride the next setup out until it hits my stop loss, although there were clear signs that I could have exited before the trade hit my stop loss, and so on. So what I did in the beginning was that whenever I felt these feelings coming up, or whenever I identified that I had made a mistake which would induce those feelings, I would already stop trading before those feelings even came up. But then I had a problem after a while, because I'm a day trader, and as a day trader, if I don't trade, I don't make money. I need to sit at least 4 to 6 hours every day in front of my screens in order to get enough trades in to produce a certain sample size in order to turn a profit by the end of each month. The solution to stop trading when identifying one of these weaknesses worked really well in the beginning, but in the end I had to choose another route. I had to work on my C and B game. I had to minimize the impacts of these flaws. And I did this again by the self-observation exercise. Whenever I identified making a mistake, and I have to say, like, making the mistakes I made that brought me these bad feelings, I made less and less of these mistakes as I became better and better with my strategy. So the flaws became less and less. With less and less flaws, my emotional problems became less and less as well. But trading is trading, and sooner or later the market will get to you. And in order to minimize the impacts of these emotions, I had to, again, observe myself, describe my feelings very clearly to the camera, and then analyze after I finished this trading session what went wrong. And I had to develop some techniques like breathing techniques, breathing deeply during the trading session, getting my mind back on track, admitting that I made a mistake, but that the next trade would be completely uncorrelated to the trade before that. So I had to remind myself of the facts, of the statistical facts of trading. I had to remind myself that one trade is nothing in the great game, that I take around 40 trades a month, 500 trades a year, and that one trade would be nothing compared to that. And then for every flaw I had a counter argument. I had to think long about these counter arguments, but for every flaw I had, for every bad feeling that came up inside me, I had a counter argument that makes a lot of sense to me. And now I have no problem countering these bad emotions when they come up. Actually, it happens automatic. I can identify these emotions very quickly. I know where they come from. I know why I feel like that, and I know what to tell to myself in order to calm down. And another thing that helped me a lot was seeing the correlation of my flaws, black on white, with edgewonk, for example. I put a filter on edgewonk that every time I open a trade due to bad emotions, once I saw black on white how much money this was costing me, it was much easier for me to remind myself of that while I was in a session. I was simply thinking of my equity curve going down like crazy for all the trades I took due to bad emotions, and every time I reminded myself of that, it was much easier to control myself as well. So once you work on your flaws and see the progress, and you see how much money your mistakes are costing you, it will be much easier to remind yourself that your arrogance and your ego are costing you a lot of money. It will be much easier to fight your ego then, or to deal with it in a grown-up manner. So once again, try the self-observation exercise. Let me know your results. If you have any question about this, simply ask me on the forum. I have a master in educational psychology, so I can probably help you out a little bit on that side. Most of the time, if you have an outside person look at what your problems are, it's much easier for them to tell you what is going wrong, where you are wired incorrectly, and where your brain is controlling you. And yeah, I would be happy to help out. So simply go to the forum, let me know what you feel during your trading after doing the exercise, and we can work together on fixing it.